Hi, and welcome to another watch video. Today we'll be doing what the title says. We'll compare different beat rates of watches and we're going to film it. We're going to do two sets of videos. One is going to be at full speed and the other is going to be at slow motion. So we're going to go from 3,600 up to 57,200 beats per hour. So the first candidate that we have is a classic quartz watch, which oscillates at a higher frequency, but the motion of the second hand is 1 beat per second, or 3,600 beats per hour. This is normal for almost all quartz watches, and as you can see, nothing spectacular about it. People that like mechanical watches like them among other things because of the sweeping seconds hand. So now we'll move on to the sweeping hands, which means that the frequency or the beat rate is higher than on this quartz watch. The higher the beat rate, the more accurate the movement, or it's actually less prone to influence by motion and shock. So as the first candidate, we have a 1960s Doxa, a vintage watch, and it's using a Doxa 103 movement, which is actually derived from the ETA 2391. It's a 17 joule hand winding movement, and it beats, as you saw, at 18,000 beats per hour, or 5 times a second. Over here you can see the slow motion video of the seconds hand, and this speed is very common among vintage pieces because at that time this was considered a standard speed. Over time, manufacturers raised the frequency or the beat rate, like I said, in order to increase accuracy and to reduce the influence of shock. So this is the slowest mechanical that we will have in this video. After it, we have the Seiko SNK 805. And this watch uses the movement 7S26, which vibrates at 21,600 beats per hour, or 6 beats per second. This is pretty much standard for Asian movements from Miura and Seiko, also Orient. And these movements are on the low cost side, but personally there's nothing wrong with them, and this is my personal watch that's been with me for 5 years and it never missed a beat. The advantage of this lower beat movement compared to some higher beats is that the service intervals are longer, which means that because there are less beats per hour over the lifetime of the watch, the components take a lot less abuse than higher beat watches. So from a cost effective way, this is an excellent movement. And this was the 7S26. The next watch that we're going to have is actually a quartz watch, but what it does, it's Bulova's ultra high frequency quartz, and it actually beats at 8 beats per second, or 28,800 beats per hour, which is pretty much the standard of mechanical watches from Switzerland. Let's say Rolex and other manufacturers use this type of motion. It's a bit smoother than the Seiko one, as you can see, because like I said, it has 8 beats per hour, 8 beats per second, and it's nice to look at. Like I said, because of this, the service intervals are a bit shorter than on the Seiko or the 21,600. And there are some people that prefer these movements and say that the lower beat movements are of less quality, but that's not the case. There are some really high-end and very well-made watches that are low beats. And next we have the pinnacle of mechanical watchmaking, if we can call it that way. It's the Grand Seiko High Beat, and it beats at 36,000 beats per hour, or 10 beats per second. I said this is the pinnacle of mechanical movement because this is considered like the royal beat rate, and only Zenith and Seiko currently make these kind of movements. The challenge with these movements is that because of the high beat rate, the components need to be made of a very high quality material because the stress is much higher. Also because you need to store much more energy to have the same power reserve as with the lower beat movements. The mainspring has to handle a lot more torque, and it has to be able to store more energy. And like I said, service intervals on these watches are always shorter than on the lower beats. And now, like I said, this is the pinnacle of mechanical watchmaking, and now we come to the how do I say, to the irony that if you want a really smooth seconds hand, you have to move away from mechanicals and go back to quartz, which is a funny thing. Again, we have the movement by Bulova and ultra high frequency quartz, but unlike that one on the Moonwatch, this one beats at 16 beats per second, or 57,200 beats per hour. And as you can see, this second hand is so smooth that even in our slow motion video, it's gonna be too fast to count. So I did another video where I slowed it even more, which you will see after this. So it's kind of an irony that you went to mechanicals to get a sweeping hands, but if you want a really smooth sweeping hand, you go back to quartz. And the only one that I don't have here, because it doesn't have beat rates at all, is the Grand Seiko Spring Drive, which is the only watch that really has a perfectly smooth sweeping hands, which means that it doesn't have beats, but it has an electromagnetic break that and the seconds hand just glides. So as you can see, this has 16 beats per second, and it's really impressive to watch. And now after this, I will do another video where you will see, I mean, after this clip, there's going to be another clip where each one of these is going to go for 5 seconds, so you can see the seconds hand continuously accelerating the number of beats. And after that, we're going to do a clip where they all beat together in slow motion. So I will just let you enjoy in these videos, and I will shut up for now. Thank you for watching.